Today I'm going to teach you the lesson Poets and Pancakes written by Ashokamithran. Now this is in Flamingo. It's I think the fifth unit. Please check with your textbook. And it's written, by a person who was born in 1931. He must have died by now, I think. I do not know. If he was alive, probably he'd have been 1 year older than my dad. And my dad is passed away. It's a long time. Now this man is primarily a Tamil writer. Please follow the introduction in the text. Ashokamithran, 1931, a Tamil writer, recounts his years at Gemini Studios in his book My Years with Boss, which talks of the influence of movies on every aspect of life in India. Now, this is something that you need to keep in mind. Movies have an influence on every aspect of life in India, and that's true even today. My Years with Boss talks about his years with S.S. Vasan, who was the boss at Gemini Studios. Now, where is this Gemini Studios? The next sentence tells you that. The Gemini Studios, located in Chennai, which was at that time called as Madras, was set up in 1940. So he was probably one of those earliest people who joined Gemini Studios. So this is life in Gemini Studios in its earliest stages. It was one of the most influential film producing organizations of India in the early days of Indian filmmaking. Its founder was S.S. Vasan. The duty of Ashokamithran, the person who is narrating his biography here in this case, in Gemini Studios, was to cut out newspaper clippings. So he was a kind of data collecting agent. He used to collect data from newspapers on a wide variety of subjects and store them in files. Many of these clippings had to be written out by hand. In those days, not much dependence was there on the typewriter, though it was available at the time. He had to write it down by hand. It's a tedious process. You cut out newspaper clippings, and then some of these newspaper clippings, the boss orders that you need to write it down and give a written copy. And it was a tedious job. But people didn't appreciate his job and his during his time, as he would tell you during the story. Although he performed an insignificant function in the whole process of making movies, his role was very small, insignificant. Although it was insignificant, he was the most well-informed of all the members of the Gemini family. The following is an excerpt from his book, My Years with Boss. We turn to the next page. This is page 57 in my textbook. I do not know what it is in your textbook. You have an introduction. Notice these words and expressions in the text. Okay. This is what is asked. Notice the words and expression in the text. Infer their meaning from the context. Blew over. Maybe it's connected with something getting over. We do not know. Let's see the text. Catapulted into. It's connected with shooting. Maybe that's what I can guess from the context so far. Played into their hands. I think this is like somebody had tricked the person, or I do not know. Let's see. Heard a bell ringing. Maybe I think this is connected with memory. Was struck dumb. That means was not able, shocked into silence. Maybe that's what I can understand from the context so far. A coat of mail. This is quite And for me, it is easy because I have read a lot about coat of mail. It's supposed to be the armor that is worn um, by knights. The favorite haunt, it means a place where persons or birds like to visit. Now let's continue. Okay, none of these is confirmed. Okay, so let's see what it means. A pancake, so that's how the story starts, talks about a pancake, and the name of the lesson is Poets and Pancakes. So it's that pancake. What does he refer to by pancake? Let us see. Pancake was the brand name of the makeup material that Gemini Studios bought in truckloads. I think it's figurative. Nobody buys pancake in truckloads, literally. It's just a form of exaggeration. So you could use this for figure of speeches. Uh, Greta Garbo. Okay, who's that? There is a, let's say, superscript number one. That means it's a note. And let's see the note down below. A Swedish actress in 1954, she received an honorary Oscar for her unforgettable screen performances. The Guinness Book of World Records names her the most beautiful woman who ever lived. She was also voted the best silent actress of the country. Sweden, right? Now, let's see the other person. Oh, there's one more person mentioned there. What about Greta Garbo? Must have used it. Must have used pancake. Oh, so it's a makeup material to make you look beautiful. Maybe that's a secret of her beauty, Greta Garbo's. Miss Gohar must have used it. Vaijayanti Mala, and there's a note there. Let's see what that note says. An Indian actress whose performances was widely appreciated in Bimal Roy's Devadas. The name of the movie is Devadas. She won 3 Best Actress awards for her acting. She's now an active politician. Oh, so she's still there, right? An active politician these days. Now, let's see what else is mentioned here in the first page. The makeup department, okay, so that's not where I stopped. Must have used it, but Rati Agnihotri. Okay, so that's probably, this is from the very distant past to a more recent past. Okay, for us it is still past. Rati Agnihotri may not have even heard of it, may not even have heard of the word pancake. That is, she may not have heard about this makeup material. The makeup department, so it's the name of the makeup department. Pancake is the name of the makeup department, or that's the name that he is referring to when he says poets and pancakes. So pancake maybe refers to the department connected with makeup. Now, what about the makeup department? Of the Gemini Studios was the upstairs of a building. So it was first floor of a building that was believed to have been Robert Clive's stables. So it looks like the lower floor, once upon a time, was the only floor that was there, and Robert Clive used that whole floor as his stables, place where he keeps his horses, where his stable hands used to look after his horses. A dozen other buildings, so this note about a dozen other buildings. Let's see what else follows. Dozen other buildings in the city, now we know which city it is, Chennai, are said to have been his residence. There's lots of people say that he has lived in a dozen other places. A dozen, not literally, it means many. Seems to have been said about that. This is something connected with what people said about the history of Chennai. for his brief life, if you consider that he lived only a very short time and an even briefer stay, although and he lived a very brief life, and he had a very brief stay in Madras, which is present day Chennai. For that short period, Robert Clive, the person that we are talking about now, connected with the studio to the stables, seems to have done a lot of moving. So this is a kind of comment, meaning that probably Robert Clive did not have. It is just did not have stables. His stables here. Probably it is just a legend or a story, a folk tale, and that the people of Chennai have been speaking or saying for a long time, have done a lot of moving. Not just moving, besides fighting some impossible battles in remote corners of India. So again, comment about how impossible it could have been for his brief stay to have done so many different things. Impossible battles in remote corners of India, and marrying a maiden, a young woman, that's what maiden means, in St. Mary's Church, in St. George, in Fort St. George. There's a place where we have the, what do you call, the parliament today, the state parliament today, in Madras. Now, what about this particular building and the first floor of that building? The makeup room. Okay, so the specific place has been mentioned here. There is a room which is the center of the makeup department, and that is the makeup room. Had the look of a haircutting saloon. It's like a barber shop with lights. In what way is it like barber shop? With lights at all angles. We know about that. No, we want to get good lighting when we want to do a video, or when we want to do a shorts or something like that. And maybe for that reason, there was lights at all angles. Maybe that's the reason why barber shops had lights at all angles around, and not just the lights. And these lights were around half a dozen large mirrors. There were a lot of mirrors in barbers shops. And so was it here in the makeup room. They were all incandescent lights. They were not the lights that we use these days. They are not the LED lights that we use these days. They were the incandescent light, which means it gives out life through incandescence, meaning through becoming very hot. Incandescence is a property of getting heated. So it's the old style yellow light giving incandescent bulb that was there. Incandescent lights. They were all incandescent lights. So besides giving out light, it also gave out a lot of heat. So you can imagine the fiery misery. You can imagine how miserable it must have been of all those subjected to makeup, of all those people who were given makeup or administered makeup. The makeup department was first headed by a Bengali. Now, here is the story of the makeup department itself. It was first headed by a Bengali who became too big for a studio and left, who became too important to be run or to be governed by a studio, which means he didn't want to be under a boss, which is S.S. Vasan. He wanted to be his own boss. So he opened his own shop. Too big for a studio and left. He was succeeded by a Maharashtrian. So the next person who came into the position of the chief makeup man was a Maharashtrian, who was assisted by a Darbar Kannadiga. Okay, whose first assistant was a Darbar Kannadiga, and one who belongs to Karnataka, a specific caste of Karnataka. And then next in Andhra, okay, was assisted by Darbar Kannadiga. Oh, he had many assistants. One was a Darbar Kannadiga, a Madras Indian Christian, Madras Indian Christian. Uh, uh, Probably is referring to an Anglo-Indian. I do not know, but we could say that it is an Anglo-Indian, probably because he spoke a lot of English. A Madras Indian Christian, and then there is, oh, so it cannot be a Madras Indian Christian, cannot be an Anglo-Indian, because there's a mention of an Anglo-Indian here. Oh, it's not an Anglo-Indian here, it's an Anglo-Burmese. Maybe if you associate the two, which come close in proximity to each other, a Madras Indian Christian and an Anglo-Burmese, then it could be that Madras Indian Christian is an Anglo-Indian of uh, Tamil origin or an Indian origin. Okay, and here therefore mention of an Anglo-Burmese, just like Anglo-Indian, Anglo-Burmese, and the usual local Tamils. So he had a huge train of assistants. All this shows that there was a great deal of national integration long before AIR and Doordarshan began broadcasting programs on national integration. During the Congress rule, earlier part of Congress rule, I remember this kind of, because I belong to I was born in the 60s, and therefore when I was young, I remember this kind of programs that they are talking about here. All India Radio, which is the radio station, Doordarshan, which is the TV station, began broadcasting programs on national integration. You have the song now, Mile Sur Tera. Sorry, I'm not a very good singer. I'm not good. I don't remember these things correctly. So it's songs like that, right? Which promote national integration, want us all to live together. That's a wonderful song. You must hear it. This gang of nationally integrated makeup men. So there was national integration in terms of people forming a team from different parts of India, of different castes, of different races, of different religions, working together as one team. This gang, no, he's referring to that gang of nationally integrated makeup men could turn any decent looking person into a decent looking, good looking person. So that's the person that they generally select. Somebody who looks good, maybe because of good physical features, facial features, physical features as well as facial features. They could turn the faces of these people into the faces of hideous, ugly looking, crimson hued, crimson colored. That is, they may be fair skinned or dark skinned, but they made the skin look very red, almost crimson, with the use of pancakes, right? Crimson colored, a hued monster, turned them into monsters. For you to look at them directly, they look like monsters. But once the shooting was done, they no longer look like monsters. In the film that came out, they look very beautiful. Mostly these are probably black and whites and maybe some early color movies. Okay, these movies had movie cameras that they used in those days, those 1940s and 50s. It was very primitive, right, by today's standards, and they couldn't let's say do well with poor lighting. They needed a lot of lighting, right? And they had let's say not very sensitive films, because they were all based on films, no? And therefore, because it's a movie camera, it's not a still camera, so there were a lot of limitations. So you need to really make things very bright using lights as well as makeup. So these people, they had the knack of knowing how much makeup was just right, and that is incredible, considering that they do not know the final output. They only see with their eyes, and for their eyes and for your eyes and for my eyes, they look like monsters. These people look like monsters. But in the end, after the film had been developed, When they saw these people that they had made up in the movies, they looked excellent. Very smooth skin, very fair, not a single flaw. And you might have seen they used to use a lot of lipstick. Even men used to wear a lot of lipstick. So that's because of one of the reasons is because of the camera. The other reason is because Indian cinema came from the drama tradition, and it took a lot of time for people to get rid of that drama kind of makeup. Even the acting, drama kind of acting, it took a lot of time for Indians to get rid of it and develop the different kind of acting that we see today, which is more realistic. Though I don't know whether India's completely got rid of it. No, I think it's a part of a tradition now. With the help of, or how did they do it? With the help of truckloads of pancake, a lot of pancake, and a number of other locally made portions. Portions here referring to mixtures locally made. That means they made it themselves. And lotions. Those were the days of mainly indoor shooting. Those were the days when shooting was done mainly indoor, so that they can get perfect control over the lighting. And every 5%, and only, sorry, not every, and only 5% of the film was shot outdoors. I suppose, and this is what I was trying to explain to you, the sets and the studio lights needed the girls and the boys, referring to the men and the women, to be made to look ugly in order to look presentable in the movie. I've clarified that just now. A strict hierarchy. There was a strict order, pecking order was maintained in the makeup department. The chief makeup man made, that means applied makeup to the chief actors and actresses ugly. So what did he end up doing? Made them ugly. And his senior assistant, the most important assistant, the one whom he called all the time, the second hero and the heroine. There used to be a second hero and a heroine. You know, it was a kind of formula. You need to have one. And the junior assistant, there was a third person who was a junior assistant, senior assistant, junior assistant. He had the responsibility of the main comedian, who was probably the next more important person, and so forth. And then I think probably the villain, and then the crowd, or before the crowd, the character actors. Okay. Then how did it go? The players who played the crowd, here the word players is the Shakespearean meaning of the word players, which is actors who played, who acted the crowd, were the responsibility of the office boy. Even the makeup department, you know, there is a snide remark there in brackets, of the Gemini Studios had an office boy. So that department had an office boy. He is not really an office boy. He is used as an office boy in the sense that he would be the one who is going to transfer and ask and get instruction. Go and get me that. Get me that. Call that man. Fetch this. Ask this actor to come. Ask this person to come. All these things is answered by the office boy. But he was not really an office boy. He's one of the junior most of the, let's say, makeup department. So he could also apply makeup. He was the one who applied makeup for the crowd, which is the lowest grade of artists. On the days when there was crowd shooting, you could see him mixing his paint in a giant vessel and slapping it on the crowd players. So he made it in a big, it's like making what do you call food for a huge crowd in a marriage. You do it in a big vessel. Same way he used to mix. What do you call? That's why they need the local preparation of potions and lotions. They made it in a huge container, and they used to use a paint probably a paint brush probably, to apply it on, or probably a kind of sponge to apply it on the crowd. Giant vessel and slapping it on the ground, and that application is probably what I would refer to as painting it with a paintbrush, or um, sponge is slapping, is referred to as slapping it on the crowd players. The idea, his responsibility, office boy's responsibility, was to close every pore on the surface of the face, so the face looks like as if it's made up of plastic in the process of applying makeup. He wasn't exactly a boy. No, though he's called a boy, age-wise he was not a boy. He was in his early 40s, having entered the studio years ago in the hope of becoming a star actor or a top screenwriter, director, or lyrics writer. These were the, let's say, uh, much sought after jobs in the film industry. He was a bit of a poet. He came in with some talent, trying to become, let's say, a lyrics writer, because he was a bit of a poet, or a director, or top screenwriter, or probably he wanted to become a hero. He didn't get sufficient chance, so he ended up becoming an office boy in the makeup department. So you see, he's a very disgruntled man. In those days, I worked in a cubicle, two whole sides of which were French windows. So he had an office in that department where he was in. He doesn't say that he was in the makeup department. Okay, he says he had a cubicle, an office. So he worked from an office. Two sides of which were French windows, which means it's floor length windows or roof length, floor to roof windows, French windows. I didn't know that it was, no, at that time they were called French windows. Seeing me sitting at my desk tearing up newspapers, so see, people who are walking below on the road in front of Gemini Studios, or who are passing by uh, in front of the building, were easily able to see him sitting there and tearing up paper. Okay, seeing me sitting at my desk tearing up newspaper day in and day out, most people thought I was doing next to nothing, almost nothing. Next to nothing is almost nothing. It's likely that the boss thought likewise too. He also probably thought that I was doing almost nothing. So anyone who felt I should be given some occupation would barge into my cubicle, force his way into my cubicle, and deliver an extended lecture. So they thought while they were slogging it out, this man had an office all to himself in which he does nothing but tear paper. So they used to come and tell him, no, this is, everybody's working. We are just whiling away time. This is not the way. I do not know why the boss has given you this job. And even the boss probably thought like that, right? Probably he got a lot of scolding. The boy in the makeup department had decided, this boy in the makeup department had probably decided I should be enlightened on how great literary talent, he's referring to himself being a budding poet, had decided I should be enlightened how great literary talent has been allowed to go waste in a department fit only for barbers and perverts, is referring to the makeup department. Soon I was praying for crowd shooting all the time. Soon, after some hours, probably, I do not know, minutes, extended minutes of this lecture, he was wishing, oh my God, let there be crowd shooting. If there is crowd shooting, then this fellow will be forced to leave me and go and do his makeup. Nothing short of it, nothing lesser than it, could save me from his epics, from his long lectures. In all instances of frustration, you will always find the anger directed towards a single person, openly or covertly. And this man of the makeup department was convinced that all his woes, ignominy, and neglect were due to Kotamangalam Subbu. So, in the whole of the let's see, Gemini Studios, when somebody had a complaint, they all thought the reason why they are having this problem is because of Kotamangalam Subbu. Who is this Kotamangalam Subbu? Subbu was the number 2 at Gemini Studios. He couldn't have a more encouraging opening in films than our grown-up makeup boy had. That means Subbu himself may not have had a great entry into film industry, which was at that time Gemini Studios. In those days, Gemini Studio was a whole of cinema industry in southern India. What I mean is, southern India is the Malayalam industry, the Kannada industry, the Andhra industry all together, right? So that was the cinema industry in those days. And looks like Kotamangalam Subbu was the one man to be blamed for the problems of everybody, right? Who was this Kotamangalam Subbu? Was number 2 at the studio. He couldn't have, this man, he also may have entered the film industry, that is Gemini Studios, in the same way as the studio boy has entered.